Yokoya is a lonely loser who misses his mother's breasts, who left to buy milk. However, his life takes a turn for the better when an assassin disguised as a maid comes to him looking for a job and to be his master. It was a normal day for Yokoya, who was lazily sleeping until noon, but suddenly someone rings the doorbell, forcing him to get up. When he goes to the door, he sees a maid who looks more like a goddess asking to be employed as his maid. After Yokoya lets her in, he offers her a seat on the sofa, gives her a drink, and starts thinking to himself whether she is there to sell her kidneys or some crazy white powder. He asks her about her previous experiences as a maid, but instead, she tells him she used to work as an assassin, targeting people who rebelled against her master, their same master who sent her here. Yokoya thinks she is joking, but after realizing she's serious, he becomes nervous. He asks about her boss and her relationship with his family, and she starts explaining how her boss once had a goldfish that had a baby that turned into a dog that lived briefly, and that guy was friends with Yokoya's mother. Yokoya slaps her hand in frustration, but quickly realizes he made a mistake and potentially annoyed her. So, he changes the subject and asks about her special method of assassinating people. They step outside, and she pulls out her knives. Doing a backflip, she throws the knives with precision at a tree and shows her specialty, which is knife throwing. She smiles proudly and explains that throwing knives is just one of her many skills as an assassin. But despite having seen her incredible skills, Yokoya tells her that he can't hire a female John Wick as his servant. Although this bothers her, she understands his decision, apologizes for taking up his valuable time, and prepares to leave. As she walks through the door, Yokoya falls to his knees in disbelief at what just happened. But when he looks down, he finds something. Meanwhile, the maid is walking alone, aimlessly wondering what she needs to do next. She looks back, hoping that Yokoya will chase her, but is disappointed to see no one there. However, just as she is about to cross the railway, Yokoya shouts for her with the bell in hand, saying she left him behind. When the maid turns around, a truck is about to send Yokoya to an isekai, but she angrily flies over and saves him from his death. Unlike before, the maid appears adorable with a blush on her cheeks, and Yokoya thanks her for saving him. She apologizes for having saved him, saying she has never saved anyone before and that her heart is racing. Yokoya hands her the bell, and she thanks him for returning it. Before leaving again, however, as she walks away, Yokoya changes his mind and says he needs her help to clean the house. Yokoya is shocked to see all the knives she has while unpacking her things. As the maid babbles about how her knives could have stopped the earthquake, Yokoya interrupts her and says he needs her to clean his junk and not the streets of 304 with father issues. However, she only has cleaning corpses on her mind, and Yokoya tries his best to explain that it's a different kind of cleaning and that he needs a housemaid. She asks if he will really hire her as long as she does her chores, and he agrees. Later, Yokoya returns to find a mess with her wet, holding a broken mop and a bucket on her head. She starts apologizing profusely and suddenly slips on the wet floor, but quickly manages to land like Spider-Man while the bucket still hits her head. After what he saw, Yokoya asks her if she is really clumsy, and she apologizes for her mistakes while feeling embarrassed. Yokoya takes the bucket off her head, hands her a towel, and says she can start learning from now on with him helping beside her. He tells her to continue, and she nods cutely. Hours later, the place is spotless, and Yokoya praises her for her hard work, which makes her happy. Then, Yokoya sees the time and realizes it's dinner time. He asks her if she can cook. She looks down like a sad puppy, and Yokoya reassures her, saying it's okay because he will cook while she takes a bath. The maid thinks about Yokoya as she swirls in the water. Meanwhile, Yokoya stands outside, thinking out loud to himself, feeling anxious and unsure of what to do as a problematic emo maid is bathing just a few feet away from him. He gets excited thinking about the maid coming out wearing only towels, but she appears in a full uniform, disappointing Yokoya. Then they start dinner, while Yokoya warns the maid to feel confident and begins to chop vegetables as if they were human bodies. Yokoya takes some fried ramen and pork, confusing her about what fried pork is. She explains that she may have eaten it before, but never really cared about food enough to pay attention to what she ate. The maid states that eating is just to sustain life, and that flavors aren't important. But Yokoya assures her that a bite of fried pork will make her go wild with happiness, as if she were in food heaven. Feeling confident with those discounts on the fried pork, she divides it into 2 portions for herself and the maid, but realizes she doesn't know her name. The maid tells Yokoya she doesn't have a name and that her master usually gives her one. Initially, he wants to call her Big SFF 9000, but decides to give her a name later after gaining some inspiration. Then they begin to eat, and after the first bite of the fried pork, she still thinks she can't describe the taste, triggering memories of a dark past. But this time, she feels warm inside and tells Yokoya that his cooking is delicious. She tells Yokoya that both the food and he, as a person, make her feel warm, but he doesn't hear what she says and mentions preparing a room for her to stay. Yokoya tells her that he's decorated the room beautifully just for her, and upon hearing this, she remembers an even darker past of bathing in blood. But unlike those times, now she wants her new master to treat her kindly. Yet, Yokoya notices that her pork doesn't have sauce like his, so he hands her the sauce to put on her pork, and after a bite, she feels the flavor explode in her mouth, releasing happy sounds at the mighty tonkatsu sauce. That night, Yokoya wakes up crying after having a nightmare. But then his stomach growls, and he goes downstairs to eat something. Suddenly, a voice comes from his kitchen, and he gets scared, thinking the maid is plotting something. When he looks inside, he sees the maid pinching the tonkatsu sauce. They both freeze, embarrassed, before she tries to apologize for being a new sauce addict. But Yokoya tells her it's fine and asks if she's hungry too. Then Yokoya prepares a succulent hot pot, and they begin to eat, which she is truly enjoying. The maid asks Yokoya if he is having nightmares, and after he replies, she reveals that she heard someone talking in their sleep in his room. She thinks a killer entered his room, so she enters with knives in hand, but instead of an enemy, she finds Yokoya sleeping with tears in his eyes. Yokoya feels embarrassed, and she says he was calling for his mother while he slept, which makes him even more embarrassed. She tries to cheer him up, saying she also had a dream where the sauce talked to her, telling her she could lick the sauce as much as she wanted since it would fill her up. But before she starts licking, she wakes up from the dream. However, she states that it's the first time she dreamt of something other than murder, and that it's the first time she wanted to continue a dream different from her other dreams. She feels upset that Yokoya had a nightmare on the same day and that she couldn't comfort him. Yokoya confesses that he has this dream of his mother leaving him for a new father, and that he'll start crying if he wakes up without being lain on by his mother. After hearing this, the maid offers Yokoya her lap to lie on, and when he refuses her offer, she looks sad, thinking she can never comfort people, only kill them. Suddenly, Yokoya lies down, bridging her darkness, and they both feel warm with each other. Yokoya looks at her face and notices she is looking at him. He falls asleep on her warm, soft lap, and in her mind, she wonders why her heart was beating so fast when she saved Yokoya, unlike the times she sent people to their deaths. So, she wants to understand why her body moved quickly to save him. The next morning, she throws away the ninja fruit into the trash before putting it in the bag. When Yokoya asks why she does that, she explains it saves space, which impresses him. Suddenly, they find a stray dog in front of the house, and beside it, a broken letter left by a man named Donnie, who left the dog at Yokoya's house thinking he is a wealthy man who will take care of it with pleasure. Despite his objections, Yokoya wants to adopt it, not wanting it to die from abandonment. But unlike her master, the maid has a different way of thinking. She states that the puppy has its own animal instincts, and saving it out of pity would make it less capable of surviving difficulties, turning the dog into a weakling. She asks Yokoya if he is really ready to take on that responsibility, but he simply doesn't care about all that nonsense, stating that just as he saved the puppy, she didn't save him from death out of sympathy, and that when someone's life is in danger, a person's body moves on its own, wanting to save them. This touches the maid's feelings. Hearing what Yokoya said, he tells her that just like the puppy, he knows what it's like to be abandoned. Then he takes the puppy inside and quickly bonds with it. But unlike him, the maid keeps her distance from the puppy as if it were a plague, and Yokoya tries to offer her the opportunity to touch the little one, but she backs away from him. Upon seeing her reaction, Yokoya realizes she is afraid of dogs. She begins to feel embarrassed, which Yokoya finds cute, but she tells him that she would touch it by force if her master ordered her to which Yokoya says he won't do that. He asks her why she is afraid, and the maid explains that during one of her assassin training sessions, she was left on a mountain full of ferocious wild dogs. Yokoya understands her trauma and feels sorry that she cannot help take care of the puppy. But after hearing her master call it a pity, the maid feels disappointed in herself. With a heavy chest, the maid asks if she can hold the puppy. But on her first attempt, she holds the puppy like she's grabbing a neck, making the animal shake. After Yokoya asks which part of the puppy scares her, she points at the claws, the teeth, and the devilish eyes. But Yokoya says that unlike her, he sees it as if it were an emoji, which to her is an alien concept. Suddenly, the puppy bites her finger, causing her to start squirming, almost launching the little one into a hot dog. After calming down, the puppy starts nibbling on Yokoya, and seeing this, Yokoya checks its teeth and realizes it's going through teething, so they take it to the veterinarian hospital. While Yokoya takes the puppy for a checkup, the maid goes shopping for puppy supplies, impressing both Yokoya and the puppy with how caring she can be. They take the puppy to a spa, and after everything she has been through, the maid tells Yokoya that she has never met such a kind stallion like him. She says that unlike him, her previous masters were cold and only cared about her finishing the job, not tolerating any mistakes, unlike Yokoya, who treats her kindly despite her many flaws. She begs him to let her stay in this world of his, a world different from hers, where everything is cold and survival is the name of the game, through murder and completing a task. The maid wants to be like the puppy, who finds warmth in a world where she eventually becomes someone Yokoya desires. After all she says, Yokoya tells her that what she wants is to stop being an assassin and start becoming a normal girl, something she had never thought about before. Sending people to their deaths was the only thing she ever knew in her entire life. But now, with her new master, she feels hope that she can learn more about him and this wonderful new world. Yokoya confesses that although he was scared of her at first, he now only sees her as a good girl. Hearing herself called a good girl reminds the maid of her past, and because of this, she asks him to help her become a normal girl. Despite Yokoya not knowing much about internal and external tampons, he tells her she should start learning to feel normal when she makes mistakes and not to put too much pressure on herself. The next morning, the puppy wakes her up with the sound of her learning to cut cabbage, and she wants to learn to make osi konomiya so she can pair it with some sauce she loves. Suddenly, the puppy teleports instantly to her leg, making her freak out, not believing that a normal dog can approach her, only her entirely like an assassin. The puppy's stomach growls, and realizing it's hungry, she feeds it with dog food. While the puppy is busy devouring the food, she tries to touch him but freezes when Yokoya appears. He begins to pet the little fluff ball, and after rubbing its chubby belly, Yokoya decides to name the puppy Modi. He praises the maid for feeding the puppy and cutting the cabbage, giving her a spin before complimenting her work. The maid smiles at him while the puppy starts to nuzzle against her leg and asks to play. However, Yokoya cannot play because he needs to prepare dinner. The maid tells him she will take care of it, stating that she wants to be a normal girl and can believe what he said when he mentioned that the puppy is a bundle of joy. Yokoya uses his paternal charm and tells her that he believes in her too. As the maid hugs the puppy, she begins to get closer, giving it belly rubs and touching its paws. Now she understands that just as Yokoya was scared of her at first, she starts to trust the little puppy, just as Yokoya begins trusting her. During dinner, she relishes the delicious okonomiyaki, and when Yokoya offers her a second portion, she tries to decline. However, her body language shows that she is excited about her creamy dish. Yokoya assures her that if she has a request, she should just ask him. Seeing this opportunity, she asks him to give her a name. Yokoya begins to think and asks about her birthday. Although she doesn't know the exact date, she knows it was during the winter. Yokoya has an idea and calls her Yuki, inspired by the snow. She only remembers her old boss calling her cold-blooded, but unlike him, Yokoya likes snow because it looks beautiful. Remembering Yuki's past, when she made a snowman, Yokoya speaks about a risky theory that snow is also warm when it blankets a field, protecting the seeds from cold and allowing them to eventually bloom into beautiful flowers. Upon hearing his talk and seeing Yokoya's smiling face, this leads her to question if everything in her life becomes warmer and more beautiful when she's beside him. She realizes that as long as she stays in his world, one day she will understand how to be normal, and she thanks Yokoya for giving her a name, and she starts to smile shyly. This makes Yokoya happy to see her smile. Days later, while Yuki is playing with Moti, Yokoya appears and asks her for a favor. She asks what it is, and he reveals that he wants to pierce his ear and needs her help since she has her ear pierced. She accepts his request, but after placing the blade near his ear, she recoils and starts shaking in fear at the thought of piercing a hole in her own master. Suddenly, the doorbell rings, and when Yuki opens the door, she finds a girl looking for her brother. She becomes confused upon seeing Yuki. Yuki realizes that this is Yokoya's wealthy little sister. After entering, the little sister cannot believe that her weak and foolish brother managed to get such an attractive maid like Yuki and questions why he never mentioned it to her during family gatherings. He tries to explain that their mother would probably freak out and that their father had allowed him to hire a maid, although he didn't know how eye-catching she was. But the little sister still doesn't accept his excuse for lying to her. Yuki asks why they live separately, but instead of answering, the little sister starts yelling, which leaves Yuki confused about why this girl is so strange. The little sister tells Yuki that she is very pretty, and Yokoya explains that the little sister loves beautiful people while hating ugly guys like her viewers, so he didn't want to tell her about it. The little sister starts pouting while abusing her brother, but after calming down, she finds out that Yuki was named by her master Yokoya, which confuses her. At that moment, Yuki goes on to babble about how she was once a nameless assassin before Yokoya gave her a name, freezing the little sister. However, she quickly changes her opinion, thinking it's incredible, and asks her to sign her notebook. Yuki happily signs it, but after finishing her signature, she appears perturbed. Yuki defends herself, stating that she can speak 12 languages because she traveled a lot as an assassin, but never studied calligraphy. The little sister then has an idea. She wants Yuki to be her summer project, and while Yokoya opposes this idea, the little sister praises Yuki, saying she is the person she needs. She asks Yuki to show her assassin side, and despite her brother's reasoning, she assures him she will turn this story around and make a maid who resembles an assassin. So they head to the backyard, placing an apple on the little sister's head, while Yuki throws a blade perfectly onto the apple, nearly giving Yokoya a heart attack. The little sister asks Yuki how many knives she has and where she keeps them, and Yuki responds that she has 5. However, when she is about to show the knife under her clothes, Yokoya stops her, infuriating the viewers who want to see the long-awaited scene. Later, while the little sister is asking Yuki more pointless questions, her stomach growls, indicating that she needs food. She then asks Yuki if she has a special dish, to which Yuki replies that she does. Yuki begins slicing some cabbage, impressing the little sister with her skills, and simply serves it on a plate without anything else, which the little sister praises, saying that their dad would love it. However, they decide to head to McDonald's for a snack, where they come across a poster of a fireworks festival. Yokoya tells Yuki that the festival sells spicy senpai, and she starts to drool and get excited at his words. They then decide to go to the festival. Once they arrive, the little sister pulls Yuki to a shooting booth, and while the little sister is terrible at it, Yuki takes the gun as if she owns the place, but she misses too. She then confesses that she is good at goldfish catching games. Yuki uses her Sharingan and catches many fish, and when the little sister asks what her secret is, Yuki patiently explains how to do it. The attendant praises her for being a good sister. Then they buy a sauce without a father, which makes Yuki excited to try. After taking a bite, she nearly drowns her plate with how delicious it is. She begins to eat quickly, and seeing how much she enjoys it, the attendant gives her more for free, causing her to short-circuit. The little sister goes to buy some drinks, and when Yokoya tries to stop her, the little sister assures her brother that she'll be fine. While they wait for the little sister to come back, Yokoya asks Yuki about her previous experiences at festivals, and she tells him that instead of having fun, she once had to fulfill a mission at a festival where she stabbed a man in the back with a knife while they were both watching the fireworks. Yokoya is shocked, and before he can say anything, the fireworks start, and Yuki is enchanted by their beauty. The little sister returns with drinks, saying that summer festivals are the best, and with a smile on his face, Yokoya agrees. He bends down to look at her, mentally spilling their drinks all over the place. On their way home, the little sister scolds Yuki for eating too much sauce, warning her that she might become the next avocado character. Suddenly, someone shouts that there's been a robbery, and Mokum nearly takes the little sister's life. But Yuki manages to save her in time. However, the little sister starts to get agitated after Yuki saved her like a princess. But Yokoya is not pleased to see that their sauce is now spilled, stating that the thief should go find hell immediately. He takes his master's words literally and goes full berserk to chase after the motorcycle thief. Excited, the little sister wants to follow her to see the thief's brains ripped from his head. They follow Yuki, who is running on rooftops like Spider-Man, slowly falling behind, but the little sister finds a shortcut and they catch up. After finding the thief, Yuki throws her blades majestically and quickly at him, hitting the tires. But when she approaches the thief with malicious intent, Yokoya shouts at her to stop. However, Yuki just gives a slap to his helmet as punishment and says she is hungry again. Yokoya cheerfully suggests they should buy more sauce for the road, leaving the thief traumatized, now wishing to go to jail willingly. After buying food, they head home, and the little sister is excited to show her class her summer project, which leaves Yuki confused about what school is. The little sister begins to tell her how amazing schools are, claiming that it's a great place, which you viewers know is a farce. But suddenly, she gets a message from her mother that she's made her beef stew for her. The little sister rushes home, but despite her impulsiveness, Yokoya sees this as normal. After what the little sister told her, she tells Yokoya that she wants to go to school the next day. Yokoya goes to school, wondering if Yuki will be accepted into her new school. His friends appear, telling him about a rumor of a thick police officer doing rounds in the city, making him spit his milk. Yokoya tries to play dumb, saying he doesn't know what they're talking about. But suddenly the teacher introduces a new student who walks in Yuki in all her glory as the new girl, causing Yokoya to have a meltdown. She introduces herself as Yuki, Yokoya's cousin, but when she sits down in front of him, she calls him master, shocking everyone. After school, the little sister appears, asking him how school was. While Yokoya has an expressionless face, he realizes she is behind this. The little sister starts cheering for the success of her operation, saying that before Yuki came into school, she managed to learn everything she needed about school in 3 days. Yokoya then asks how Yuki conveniently became his cousin in the same classroom as him, but they chose to hide this from him, and they respond that Yuki has a connection from her assassination work that registered her here in the same class as him. And the little sister suggested that she should be her cousin so it would be easier to explain their interactions in the future. However, it was the little sister's idea that they kept this a secret to see Yokoya's reaction afterward. Yokoya hits her on the head, but upon seeing this, Yuki becomes distressed, asking if it's her fault. Yokoya changes his tone, and tells Yuki that he doesn't care and hopes that they both can enjoy school life. The next day, the students rush out of class wanting to eat katsudon bread, which interests Yuki. Yokoya asks her what she wants for lunch, and she replies katsudon bread. He explains that katsudon bread is rarer than one piece, and that she needs to be quick at lunch to get some. He draws her a map, showing that their classroom is the farthest from the cafeteria. While Yokoya feels pessimistic, Yuki feels excited and tells him that if Escobar can get the bread, then so can she, with full confidence. She jumps out the window and runs along the rooftop, and despite Yokoya's attempts to stop her, she sprints along the ledge like a ninja. Yokoya realizes he cannot stop her after seeing her eyes that look like a girl staring at food. He concludes that when sauce is involved, not even a Thanos could stop Yuki. Yokoya looks down and sees guys obsessed with katsudon bread running to the cafeteria and fears Yuki will fall in front of them, revealing her secret. But when Yuki is about to jump, she turns and leaps directly to land in front of the cafeteria, where she buys a bread and a sandwich. However, she informs Yokoya that the shop only allows her to buy one due to the limited quantity. He takes out another sandwich and tells her she can eat this one. Yuki feels conflicted, telling Yokoya that he should have the katsudon bread, but he assures her she should eat it, saying she deserves it. Upon taking the first bite, she begins shouting with happiness. But despite her joy, she divides the sandwich and feeds him, sharing her happiness. At night, the little sister announces she will stay over. And while Yokoya doesn't like the idea, the little sister criticizes him for the privilege of being able to live with Yuki and praise her every night. She adds that she had always wanted a sister to talk about boys with so much that she even imagined her as her applauded sister. Now the little sister has a great idea. If Yokoya marries Yuki, her dream will come true, especially since the little sister thinks Yuki likes him. However, Yokoya tells her that Yuki doesn't feel romantic and that days ago, when she made him ham bread, she showed no reaction. Although the little sister is still convinced that their mother would agree, she thinks their father wouldn't. Suddenly, Yuki appears, asking who was getting married, surprising both of them with her presence. The little sister tells the truth and asks if Yuki likes Yokoya. She replies that she admires him, which leaves Yokoya baffled. Later, they go out together, and the little sister asks if she wears makeup, asserting that Yuki's natural face would make the Kardashians jealous. Yuki tells her that she doesn't wear any, and while the little sister claims her face is the dream of many girls, Yuki insists that her appearance has never benefited her in her old line of work. The little sister thinks that unlike Yuki, she doesn't have a pretty face, but Yuki praises her, saying that she likes how the little sister looks. The little sister feels happy because no one has ever told her that except for her parents. She asks if she can be as beautiful as Yuki, and Yuki tells her that since she started eating katsudon sauce, her skin has become clearer every day. Yuki then offers the little sister a piece of melon drizzled with katsudon sauce, which initially confuses her, but she ends up enjoying it. Watching this interaction, Yokoya thinks to himself that they are like sisters, and he believes the little sister can adjust to normal life quickly. After seeing Yokoya's thoughtful expression, the little sister calls out to him, saying that he was imagining marrying Yuki just so he could see this interaction every day. While Yokoya tries to deny it, the little sister asks if he would be happy marrying someone as cute and playful as Yuki, to which Yokoya agrees, making the little sister happy. Meanwhile, a cat is lurking in the bushes. The next day in class, the teacher is teaching them about how SpongeBob is a better show than Attack on Titan. He notices Yokoya sleeping and throws a G at him, but Yuki cuts it without anyone seeing, causing Yokoya to go blind, which wasn't what Yuki wanted to happen. So, Yokoya heads to the infirmary, where he meets an intriguing health teacher from Kist High School named Nita, who is substituting for the former health teacher. After he complains about his eyes, she tells him to sit on the bed, but Yokoya feels a strange vibe. Nita begins to interrogate him about Yuki, and when he tells her that Yuki is his cousin, Nita starts laughing, saying he looks miserable compared to Yuki while checking his eyes. She compliments his handsome face, and after seeing that he is healthy, she suddenly locks the door. Nita transforms into the dream doctor every man desires, pushing him down and challenging him to advance the plot. But just as she is about to devour him, Yuki bursts in abruptly, glaring at Nita. Yokoya crawls over to Yuki, terrified of Nita, but Nita insists it was a joke, saying Yokoya looks like a cute hamster when she sees her plans falling through. Despite Nita's attempts to lure Yokoya back, Yuki pulls him away and orders him never to get close to Nita again. Suddenly, Yokoya remembers what the little sister said and thinks that Yuki really likes him and is jealous. Nita grows tired and sends him away, saying that his injury isn't serious. Yuki slowly backs away while she distances herself from Yokoya, and Yuki apologizes for her actions, saying she needs to tell him something, which makes Yokoya's heart race. However, Yuki informs him that Nita is also an assassin, which shocks him. Meanwhile, the cat approaches Nita, and from it, Nita receives photos of Yokoya's house that she plans to destroy. Nita dreams of living her life on the beach with different sweaty guys to applaud her, but before she can fulfill that dream, she needs to kill both Yuki and Yokoya. Meanwhile, Yokoya struggles to sleep because Yuki refuses to leave his side, fearing that Nita, who they still don't know much about, might come in and kill Yokoya and his precious pickles. Yokoya tells her that he can't sleep like this, so Yuki suggests an idea and lies down next to him, saying that her thighs can help him sleep like a warm hug, eliciting the dreams of every man. Yokoya expresses concern for her, and while she feels embarrassed to hear that, she tells him that she can easily defend herself while sleeping using a pencil like John Wick. Yokoya has a theory that Nita is someone holding a grudge from her past, but she reassures Yokoya, holding his hand tightly, that she will protect him, the person who shows her what it's like to feel warm. And as their hands touch, Yokoya feels warm after all the contact they've had and wants to open the window. But Yuki stops him and opens it herself, saying he could have been shot through the window if he wasn't careful. Suddenly, she catches a whiff of delicious katsudon sauce and realizes it's a trap. But before she can do anything, Nita is already inside, holding Yokoya hostage. Nita then calls Yuki by her real name, the White Wolf of the Nine Dragon Kind, expresses her disappointment in Yuki for being easily deceived. Yuki pulls out her knife, but Nita threatens her, saying if she tries something stupid, she'll play ping-pong with Yokoya's eyeball. Suddenly, Yuki begins speaking in Mandarin and threatens Nita, saying she'll feed her to the dogs along with her whole family if she touches Yokoya. This frightens Nita, who says she will wait for Yuki at school for a duel to the death, while Yokoya will be kept as a hostage. This makes Yuki remember what her old master had told her, that all she is the female version of John Wick without a happy ending. Yuki pulls out her knife, determined to accept who she is and save Yokoya. Yuki plans to save Yokoya at all costs and leave the country, continuing her life as an assassin if it means keeping Yokoya safe. However, her heart tells her otherwise, as what she truly desires is to continue the warm life that Yokoya has been leading. Meanwhile, at school, Nita ties up Yokoya as if they were in 50 Shades of Grey, but upon seeing his calm reaction, she asks Yokoya if he isn't scared and doesn't hate Yuki for dragging him into her mess. Yokoya confesses that while he is scared, he also believes in Yuki, who promised she would protect him. He then asks Nita about Shui, the person she has been talking about, which surprises Nita, as he doesn't know anything about Yuki despite living with her. Nita informs him that Shui is a monster considered special in her area, coming from the 9 dragon descendants and nicknamed the White Wolf. She's like the Spy Family on steroids. Nita adds that the 9 dragon descendants are an elite group of assassins who have been involved throughout history, even up to Franz Ferdinand. Still, if Nita can defeat Shui, her reputation will also skyrocket, which is what she is after. Yokoya doesn't believe what Nita is saying, asserting that the Yuki he knows is a precious girl with a great personality who often gets lost in confusion and squeals in excitement. Nita reveals that she also cannot believe what the all-powerful Shui has become under Yokoya's supervision, and asserts that when they talked about marriage, it annoyed Nita so much that she wanted to drop a nuclear bomb on their house. However, Nita thinks Yokoya is not normal for being extremely calm in this situation, stating that there's something special about him that is capable of melting Yuki's cold and gloomy heart. Nita believes that the more someone wants to protect, the weaker they become. So with Yokoya involved, she believes she can finally send Yuki to meet her end in hell. Just then, Yuki appears, looking for a fight. When Nita fires at her, Yuki slices through the bullets as if they were nothing. However, Nita had set a landmine on Yuki and shoots at her to blow her up, believing she has won. Suddenly, Yuki appears in front of her, almost decapitating Nita, but Nita manages to avoid the attack. After seeing Yokoya, Yuki calms him and promises that she will save him. This irritates Nita, as she realizes Yuki isn't taking her seriously, and begins to ramble on about Yuki's past, and how exposing it will force Yuki to leave Yokoya's peaceful home. Yuki tells this cheap Catwoman imitator to shut her filthy mouth, because all she cares about is that Yokoya has school in the morning and needs to sleep before then. Nita gets annoyed and asks Yuki if she can't talk about anything other than Yokoya. To make matters worse, Yuki begins talking about the little sister and her favorite sauces. Nita grows tired and reveals her secret weapons, which all point at Yokoya, threatening that if he resists, the weapons will rip off his limbs, leaving him just a trunk of a body. Having had enough, Nita advances toward Yokoya, which startles her at first. However, she quickly activates her weapons to shoot at Yokoya. Using her strength, she throws his knife into the sky, then grabs her smaller blades and hurls them at Yokoya to block the bullet. As Yuki approaches, Nita tries to use her other plans, but Yuki's knife pierces her phone, destroying her schemes. As Yuki nears, Nita starts remembering who she really is, a sworn assassin. When Yuki tells her to give up, she points a gun at Yokoya, only for Yuki to stop her and kick her away. Nita begins to ramble, telling Yuki that she will always be a great assassin who applauds taking people's lives and cutting off their limbs. She insists that it is impossible for assassins like them to live a normal life because other assassins will come after her. Yuki agrees with this assertion, saying that her old self has nothing left in life except to assassinate people. But Yuki declares that she will not take anyone's life anymore, nor will she let others die because of her. She believes that for her future, she will fight for what she believes in and strive for a normal life she has always wanted. I can't believe what I'm hearing, thinks Nita, realizing that the great white wolf is willing to let go of her prey to save Yokoya instead. Nita realizes that Yuki is not a perfect assassin, but merely a girl willing to do anything for what she truly cares about. Nita smiles and begins to laugh, knowing she never stood a chance against Yuki from the start. On the way home, Yuki apologizes to Yokoya for involving him and says she's willing to disappear just because of him if he wants. Instead of answering, Yokoya takes her hand and, using his charm, asks her to teach him self-defense techniques so he can help her. This makes Yuki blush happily, knowing that he still wants her around. Days later, Yuki plays volleyball at school as if she were a king, and while the boys watch her with admiration, they cannot believe that a loser like Yokoya is related to her. Yokoya is still haunted by the earlier incident with the mysterious Dr. Nita, who informed him about the real Yuki, who is part of the 9 descendants of the dragon. Since then, Yokoya has become even more curious, while Yuki is still trying to live normally. Suddenly, Yuki smiles at him, making all the boys jealous. But just then, a ball is thrown at him, and Yokoya is saved by Nita, whose real name is Grace, leaving the boys even more envious of this lucky loser. It turns out Grace is now pretending to be a new teacher, and while confusing the viewers about why things are happening this way, Yokoya takes us back to the week before Grace introduces herself with her new identity as a PE teacher who is also Yokoya's cousin. She explains that what Yokoya sees is Grace in her true form, a specialized assassin in intelligence, unlike Yuki, who specializes in knives. Yokoya demands that Grace explain herself, and she says she doesn't want to kill anymore because what really interests her is watching the legendary assassin Sui become a slave to Grace. She suggests a negotiation between assassins, and her terms for Yuki are that Yuki lets her stay to observe them, and she won't hurt them, plus she will offer them unlimited katsudon sauce for the next 30 months. While Yokoya tries to decipher this assassin code, Yuki simply accepts her offer, believing there is no stupid code between assassins. While Yokoya is worried about the deal, Grace assures him that hurting him brings no benefit. Even if there are 1,000 of them, she promises to protect him. While she says all this, Yokoya notices her drooling and realizes that what she really cares about is not him, but the almighty sauce. Back in the present, Yokoya reminds Grace that she should be secretly observing, but Grace refuses to do that because she wants to see Yuki's reaction to being taken along with Yokoya. As Yuki continues playing volleyball, Grace approaches closer, mocking Yokoya by saying she will devour his glory. But while Yuki watches, she takes the ball and eats it with force, almost destroying the wall. The other girls are shocked, and Yokoya realizes how strong she hit the ball, but instead of being reprimanded, the girls surround her, praising her incredible serves. Later, during lunch, Yuki expresses how embarrassed she is by what she just did, and Yokoya asks her what happened. Yuki reveals that she feels alienated after seeing Yokoya next to another assassin. After Grace explains it to him, Yokoya realizes that Yuki is jealous. He reassures her that her feelings are normal, which makes her feel happy. On a weekend morning, Yuki first changes into her maid uniform and goes to do laundry. But today, after seeing how soft the towels she just washed are, she feels extremely happy. Like a proud father, Yokoya beams at her after seeing Yuki struggle for a month with laundry where she repeatedly failed. Now that Yuki is successfully doing laundry, she feels she's starting the day brilliantly. She continues doing her chores, and when it's time for dinner, Yokoya informs her that they will only have one cabbage. She imagines the chopped cabbage served with katsudon sauce, but Yokoya has a better idea. He goes and buys pork chops from their regular seller who is happy with his loyalty. But next to him is an extremely excited Yuki, who nearly faints at the sight of the katsudon sauce. Yuki asks Yokoya if he has ever felt what she is feeling, and he replies that he felt like this when he used to visit the Hero Theater, where he was enchanted watching Walmart J-Man Rider perform. After hearing him tell this story, Yuki can identify a bit, so she marvels at the old man cutting his pork chop while telling Yokoya how professional he is. She wonders if this old man is John Wick in disguise with his cutting skills. The old lady informs them that she and her husband are the creators of the katsudon sauce, and upon hearing this, Yuki sees them as gods. Yuki thanks them because thanks to them, she, who has never tasted or appreciated food before, can now enjoy food at the highest level. With a smile on her face, she heartily thanks them for bringing her happiness. The old lady tells Yuki that the reason she can appreciate the sauce is that she feels the warmth of happiness, and after hearing all this, Yuki can only think about the warmth of Yokoya. She agrees with the old lady's sentiment. Suddenly, the old man appears behind Yuki and dusts off her shoulder, surprising Yuki. How did this old man manage to sneak up behind her? But instead of feeling scared, she is now convinced that John Wick is an old man selling pork chops. The grandmother then offers them to taste her new recipe for sauce, and like a cat with fish, Yuki is excited to try it. She takes a spoonful and is in heaven. Later that night, after finishing dinner, Yokoya is conflicted because although he still wants to know about the 9 descendants of the dragon, he feels he shouldn't. After seeing how happy Yuki is in her new life, Yokoya realizes that only Yuki can tell him about his past, and although he wants to ask her, he knows it will hurt her with the same pain that hurts him. He falls asleep and dreams of his mother leaving him. Although he wants to hug her one last time, she never hugs him back. Yokoya wakes up in tears, embracing Yuki. While she explains that she caught him sleeping, Yokoya slips into her arms and quickly apologizes, knowing that he dreams of his mother's creamy jars. Yuki offers him to lie back down on her lap, but suddenly, Yokoya's phone falls. When Yuki picks it up, she sees that Yokoya is curious about her past, and she confesses that she doesn't even know what the 9 descendants of the dragon are. She explains that when she was an assassin, all she did was follow her master's orders and didn't join the organization, although she did meet some members. She doesn't know their names because all that mattered to her was her mission and disappointing her master. Because of her past, she still struggles to get used to this beautiful and peaceful life, thinking she's living in a warm dream. But every time she sees Yokoya, she remembers that what she truly wants is to be a normal girl. Yokoya tells her that he feels the same way because after what happened with Nita, he also wants to learn more about her and help her achieve her goal. Yuki smiles warmly at him, and Yokoya starts to blush. But upon hearing that Yokoya wants to know more about her, Yuki agrees to reveal more about herself. She tells him that the reason she likes having him lie on her lap is that the first time they did that, she felt like she was truly helping someone for the first time. So she tells him that whenever he has nightmares, her lap will always be available for him. To reciprocate her gesture, Yokoya then reveals that the dream he had wasn't a nightmare, but a hopeful dream, because he saw Yuki absorbing the warmth he missed from his mother. As any other day, Yuki begins her day by waking up, getting dressed, and starting her chores. She washes the laundry, of which she is proud, after having struggled at the beginning, washes the dishes, plays with the puppy, and continues her day as usual. In the afternoon, she goes to the market to buy food supplies, and every guy who passes by looks her up and down during her shopping. A boy talks to Yuki, compliments her beauty, but then comments that her maid outfit is not something a normal girl would wear. This shocks Yuki. When she meets Hoko, who just bought some books, she asks him if the little brat is telling the truth. Hoko explains that it is normal for girls her age to wear maid outfits. They head to a certain store while Hoko and Grace wait for them. Yokoya asks why these two useless people are here. And while Hoko comes voluntarily to help his brother choose some outfits, Grace reveals that she hacked his phone, wanting to see Yuki in new clothes. Hoko asks Grace if she is also an assassin, but instead of answering, Grace hugs him, which worries Yokoya. But instead of suffocating him, Hoko begins to smell her voluminous breasts. Hoko suggests they go to a certain store, and while Yokoya thinks things can't get worse, it does, as Yuki now looks like a $5 per hour maid. They begin trying on outfits, some beautiful, and others making all the men drool. They ask Yokoya for his opinion, and when he suggests a one-piece white dress, Grace calls him a depraved pervert who likes to get his rocks off under the blanket. Then they manage to survive and buy clothes with Halloween approaching. The little sister encourages Yuki to also buy some costumes, so they try on either witch or police officer outfits that any man would love to be arrested by. Yokoya spots a horror movie poster and expresses how much of a fan he is. Grace and the little sister suggest they watch it, but Yuki seems confused about what they are talking about. Yokoya asks her if she has never been to a movie theater before, and Yuki says yes, but instead of watching, she was always there for an assassination mission. They then go to watch the movie, but even being a world-class former assassin who eliminated people without stopping, the sight of zombies terrifies her to death. After the movie, they try to calm her down by saying that her assassin skills would easily defeat zombies, but Yuki continues to get nervous, stating that the idea of a stinky corpse walking disgusts her. This realization dawns on Yokoya that the way Yuki sees things is through her past experiences as an assassin. Later, they buy pancakes and enjoy them together as a fun group of people. Suddenly, a girl with pink hair named Neka sits across from them, observing them with envy, also wanting to have fun. But her teacher, Tak, scolds her for being too careless, insisting she needs to be careful. Then, when Grace goes home, Yokoya tells Yuki to go home first while he takes the little sister back. However, Yuki detours and admires her new clothes, but she still remembers her maid outfit. A quarter later, after thinking for a bit, she goes back to the maid outfit and goes to play with Modi. However, she realizes that while she was out shopping all day, she didn't wash the laundry. She sees Modi's dirty towel and wants to clean it, but Modi refuses and runs off with it. Then the electricity goes out, and the external lighting reminds Yuki of the zombie movie she had just watched. In the meantime, with the towel in its mouth, Modi mentally slams into a table, dropping food on his head. The noise startles Yuki, and scared, she goes to investigate. Out comes a creature that looks like a bad hit from hell, and with a knife in hand, Yuki cuts the towel from Modi. Then Modi begins to cry for the towel, while Yuki promises to fix it. Yokoya doubts her, seeing how ruined the towel is, but she promises she will do it. Yokoya believes in her, offering his support. He realizes she's back in the maid outfit and asks if she hates the clothes she bought. And so, we come to the end of another action-packed and emotional episode of Kimi wa Meido-sama. With the tension rising between Yuki and Nita, what awaits Yokoya and his childhood friend? Will Yuki be able to protect Yokoya and give her life a new direction? Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the next episodes. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.